The governance aspect of ESG.
आपका से ऐसा कर ले ये भी आ जाए
Business reporting and undertaking business ethically. So
नो
the
कंसेंट
business
हुआ
should run ethically. It should present true information to the shareholders.
ये दोनों चीज़ें आ रही हैं
Now we come to the next part of the paper, that is literature review. So according to Dave
वो
Somali,
लगा दिया
the
माइक
company should not
अभी नहीं
focus
लगाया वो,
only
जब ये
on
निकालूंगा
profit
तो इसमें वो
maximization.
लगेगा, उसका
Taking
कैप्चर
care
जो
of
ब्लूटूथ
ESG
है।
performance is also the main objective of the company. Earlier, profit maximization was the main objective for any company, but profit maximization has some limitations. Like for earning more and more profits, the businessman would exploit their labors. Therefore, profit maximization is not considered the main objective of the business. After that, increasing wealth of shareholders was considered the main objective of the business. And nowadays, one more factor has been added, that is ESG. That means taking care of the environment, taking care of the society is also the important objective of the business. Now we come to Desai's literature review. Companies are facing pressure to show their plans to reduce greenhouse gas and overall climate change strategy to preserve the planet. In 2021, SEBI made it mandatory for the top 1,000 firms to show information about ESG. On the basis of that information, it can be judged how the companies are contributing towards these activities. So according to Paul Pinto, investment in environmental management and environmental technologies not only help firms to occupy greater market share but also improves efficiency of a firm. Now how does it improve efficiency of the firm? When a firm considers ESG activities, in that case the firm focuses on the society. So definitely people are motivated to buy the product of the company, and then the company can increase its market share. According to Deshpande, ESG must be embedded in core corporate strategy of a company, and companies should invest in credible reporting system. Only then the company can survive in the long run. Otherwise, if the company do not consider these activities, the companies cannot survive. Now we come to the research methodology. So due to of time, the research is based only on conceptual data. Literature review has been done, and secondary data have been taken. The data has taken from the published report of Brand Finance Report 2025, S&P Global ESG Score Report, and Kanya Brand Z Report. Now we come to the first is to supported by enrollment to when total online activities. So each and every activity of the company also contributes to each of these aspects. Providing human trust rather than technical detail, but generating systematic retrieval. If you look at 142 report and if you look at 142 report and mark statistics studying it specifically efficient for these work. Studying it specifically efficient for these work. Problem estimate and research more improbability is more the combination of actually help judge detection on technical attribution in body for later explanation can point to exact figure. Second, multi-dimensional urgency
and phrasing. Social engineering for classification labels and thresholds are calibrated on the probability effort analysis and quickly. So SAI APD layered into complementary explainability techniques. Sharp attribute and additive contribution to every feature. A global view of what finding prediction with avoid the side. There are five guidance and other AI generated systematic changes. Is tested directly rather than assumed. That combination, primary AI focus plus explicit robustness testing, is what sets these frameworks apart. Ethics discussion and limitation. A quick word on ethics. The data set designed deliberately exclude real password authentication tokens or personal victim information, and every AI generated phishing sample exists strictly for defensive research purposes. Itself reframe phishing detection as decision support. It doesn't just ask is this suspicious, it asks why. The text is genuinely ongoing collection of sanitized data. Looking ahead, several extensions are planned. Multilingual support for Hindi, English, and media. Learning through models improve over time and across organizations without
that concept observation, reasoning, or remediation, verification, and continuous learning into a practical option model. The critical research gap we are addressing is connecting all these isolated phases while explicitly measuring operation safety. We move from simple incident detection to control, safe end-to-end incident management. This contribution purely conceptual, it is logical operational model rather than a claim to of brand new production performance. Next literature related work. To build this framework, we analyze five major motivating research streams. First, AIOPS means artificial intelligence of IT operations, which utilize AI/ML for anomaly detection and event. Second, AI agent capable for environment interaction, multi-step investigations and tools use. Third, frameworks like AIOps Lab and that offer end-to-end evaluation using fault injections and workload. Fourth, cloud reliability research focusing on complex emergent failures. And fifth, agentic NetOps, which enforce policy checks and rollback aware evaluations. Next. Research methodology. Our research methodology is purely conceptual and analytical, ensuring no unverified experimental results are claimed. The methodology follows four distinct phases. First, literature analysis to find open limitations. Second, system decomposition to separate infrastructure, policies and remediation. Third, architecture development to connect components into a closed loop while separating resourcing from executing. And fourth, analytic evaluation to assess benefits, risk and future metrics. Proposed system architecture. Here is our proposed system architecture, which is built across several logic layers to strictly keep reasoning, control and execution separate. Layer 1 is the cloud infrastructure contain VMs, containers and microservices. Layer evidence gathering and role actual operation workflow of the self-healing system. When an anomaly is detected, the agent evidence source line, not an unrestricted or dangerous administrator. First, it gather comprehensive multi-source evidence. Second, it compare different computing explanation. Rating systems our time across multiple dependencies. Third, it is proposed as remedies while clearly stating the evidence considered. Expected effort that rejection or explanation condition. Risk-based remediation. To keep operation entirely safe, automation scale expand only within a defined and reversible action space divided into three types. Low risk action like restarting a failure container or retrying health checks are executed automatically once well understood. Medium risk action such as scaling up a service or modifying resources limits. And high risk action like deleting production resources, changing security policy or alternative network access control. Safety, security and governance. Safety cannot be afterthought. It may be an architectural property completely outside the AI model. Our framework includes 5 primary burden. First, least privilege, ensuring the agent has only the minimal permissions required for its operational rules. Second, policy authorization, which cross-check the action, target, context, the risk before the single execution. Third, auditability, keeping a transparent record of the entire incident life cycle. Fourth, human into the loop, to preserve human authority for uncertain situations. And fifth, rollback and container, ensuring all challenges remain strictly mounted into reverse side. Keys finding and discussion. Based on conceptual analysis, we have dragged several keys finding. Moving from consortial AIOps to AI agent allow us to smoothly connect detection, investigation and action into a single continuous workflow. This yields much faster non-recovery for predictable incident. However, we must remember that root cause matter alert are just surface symptoms and evidence in mandatory for dependable diagnosis. Evaluation, limitation and future work. As this is conceptual architecture, we openly lay out its limitation and clear roadmap for future validation. Rather than claiming unverified performance, these evaluation metrics will include MTTR successful, remediation rate and rollback frequency. Challenges like agent reasoning errors, model execution cost and security risk remain. For future work, we recommended an explicit experimental comparison using realistic workloads and fault injection to test manual ops against rule-based system. And the last conclusion and selected reference. In conclusion, controlled and verifiable autonomy is the central design principle of future cloud operations. AI agent can significantly reduce repetitive manual work and accelerate response to well-understood incident, provide self-healing, treat as strict feedback loop, observe, diagnosis, authorize, act and verify. Safeguard like class privilege, policy enforcement and human approval are not negotiable. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for the insightful presentation. Now we have Mr. Rajesh, sir, who will be presenting his research on mathematical analysis of optimization algorithms in deep learning.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Respected chairperson, judges and all participants. My name is Rajesh, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Application and IoT. Today I am going to present my research topic. Title is Mathematical Analysis of Optimization Algorithm Deep Learning. In this research, we study the different optimization algorithms such as SVD, momentum, and Adams. Helps deep learning models remove their errors, factor like learning rates, curvature, stability, affect their performance. Deep learning model have millions of parameter data, training them optimize the problems. Main goal is to reduce error and loss of the model, but deep learning has complex, non-complex loss of success. We want to understand different optimization where they converge or become unstable. Deep learning optimization reduce error. This is the descent lemma. Descent lemma tells how loss change. We can take optimization steps. In simple words, the total learning rates and loss can be decreased. In SGD, there is the some noise because we use batch of data. We mainly focus on reaching a stationary point rather the global of minimum. Correct learning rate of a model, loss of decreases. Momentum improves the optimization by using information from previous steps. It helps the optimization move faster useful direction. If the learning rate and momentum is too high, it can become unstable. Momentum can be improved speed, but proper parameter selection is important. Momentum, current gradient plus previous momentum. Next please. Adam is the adaptive optimization algorithm. Unlike basically SVD, Adam adjusts the step size of the different parameters. Large gradients create smaller steps. Smaller gradient can lead to large steps. It helps Adam works well when different parameters have different scales. SVD general steps and Adam is the adaptive steps. Next please. Curvature set. This slide compares the different optimization methods to modern matrix curvature. When the different directions have different curvature, using one fixed step size can be slow or stable. Momentum and Adam try handle this problem different ways. There is no single optimizer that always best. Each performer depends on the model. Data is the hyperparameter, GD is the simple, and SDG is the noisy, and momentum is the faster, Adam is the adaptive. Next please. Key findings. The main findings of our research are there. First, convergence does not always mean researching the global minimum, and second, Adam is the more difficult to analyze because each update change according to the data. Third, adaptive method can handle different direction and optimization program more effective. Finally, low training loss data does not always mean better test performance. Conclusion and future work. The research provides a mathematical understanding as it SOD, momentum, relative optimization method. We can better measure through the computational cost and generation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the informative presentation. Moving forward, I would like to call Ms. Rashmi Chaudhary ma'am to present her research paper titled the transformer-based predictive auto-scaling for Kubernetes cloud application. Ma'am, please. Give a huge round of applause for ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lakshmi Chaudhary from the Department of Computer Application. Today I am going to present the research work titled Transformer-Based Predictive Autoscaling for Kubernetes and Cloud Application. The main idea of the research is to improve Kubernetes autoscaling by predictive future workload instead of waiting for the workload to increase. In simple words, instead of Kubernetes reacting to the problem after it happens, our proposed system tries to predict the upcoming workload and prepare resource in advance. Next slide, please. Yes, it identifies three problems with traditional Kubernetes HPA. First one is slow response, another is slow violation during spikes, and third one is over provisioning when ideal. The first problem is slow response to sudden workload increases. HPA is basically reactive. It waits until a particular matrix crosses a threshold. For example, imagine an online shopping website during a flash sale. Thousands of users may arrive within few seconds. If scaling starts, only CPU usage becomes high, the application may already be overloaded. The second problem is SLO violation. SLO stands for Service Level Objective. It represents the expected level of service performance such as response time or availability. During sudden work spike, the application may not respond within the required time. For example, if our application promises the request should normally be completed within a certain response time limit, a sudden workload spike can cause the response time to increasingly violate that objective. Our third problem is over-provisioning. If we keep a large number of codes running all the time just to handle occasionally traffic spike, resources are wasted during normal and low traffic period. This increases the cloud computing cost. So the challenge is to maintain application performance during the workload spikes, while also avoiding unnecessary resources usage. Third slide, please. Our system has four major components: matrix collector, transformer forecasting engine, scaling decision module, and Kubernetes custom controller. To solve the problem, in previous slide, we proposed a predictive auto-scaling architecture. The complete process has four major stages. First, we collect the workload matrix. After that, transform predict future workload, and the prediction is converted into the required number of replicas. And then last, a custom Kubernetes controller changes the number of pods. So the complete flow is collect the past workload, predict the future workload, calculate the required replicas, and update it Kubernetes. Next slide. In this slide, I explain how our proposed model works. It contains four major things. First one is input, transformer, prediction, and scaling decision. First, we give the transformer the past 60 workload observation as an input. Then transformer analyzes these past patterns and predicts the workload for the next 5 time steps. We use encoder-based transformer with attention head and 3 encoder layers. After getting the prediction, we calculate how many pods are required. We also set minimum and maximum limit, use cool down time that pods do not continuously increase and decrease. If the prediction workload is high, we increase the number of pods. If the prediction workload is low, we predefined limits. Next. Now I will discuss the experimental result. We compared our approach with two methods, traditional HPM and LSTM, long short-term memory. We found that transformer approach performed better. The SLO violation rate was reduced 14.8% with HPA to 9.1 with our proposed system. The transformer has also give better forecasting accuracy with ME of 3.9 compared with 5.7 LSTM. So the results show that predictive scaling use transformer perform better than traditional HPA and LSTM. Next slide. To conclude, our research uses a transformer model to predict future workload in Kubernetes. Instead of waiting for the workload to increase, our system predicts the workload in advance and adjusts the number of ports accordingly. This helps to improve SLO compliance, response time and resource utilization. Overall, our aim is to make Kubernetes auto-scaling more predictive, efficient and cost effective. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your research insight with us. Our next presentation explores the role of edge and cloud computing in smart manufacturing. So for that, I would like to invite Mr. Rupesh Yadav sir to present his research paper.
I welcome everyone, respected chairman, judges, and all faculties. My name is Rupesh Yadav. I am teaching associate from the Department of Computer Application, MIMT, Greater Noida. Today, I am going to present my research paper titled Optimizing Latency in Smart Manufacturing, a comparative analysis of edge versus cloud processing for predictive maintenance. In this paper, I compare edge and cloud processing to understand which approach provides better response time for predictive maintenance in smart manufacturing. My research focuses on reducing processing delay in smart manufacturing. I compare edge computing and cloud computing for predictive maintenance. Smart factories use sensors and machine learning to monitor machine and predict the failures. The main problem is latency or delay in processing the sensor data. Cloud processing provides high computing power, but sending large amount of data require a lot of time, whereas edge computing processes the data near the machine. So, so we can conclude that we can make the decision that edge computing provide local faster response and cloud computing provide more computing power but comes with latency. Next. Predictive maintenance means predicting machine failure before it actually happens. Sensors collect the data such as vibrations, temperature, pressure, current. The data is to process the abnormalities, conditions, estimate possible failure. If problem is detected early, maintenance can be performed before the machine breakdown. Next. Latency means the time taken from collecting sensor data to gathering a final decision or alert. There are several stages where delay can occur. Sensor sampling, data processing, network transfer, ML prediction, alert generation, etc. In cloud-based system, network transfer can be a major and variable source of delay. Next. In this slide, compares the edge and cloud processing. edge processing happens close to the machine, so it provides low and predictable latency and continue to working even when the network is unavailable. Cloud processing happens in remote data center. It provides high scalability and centralized management. Therefore, edge is more suitable for immediate decision, while cloud is for model training, large-scale analysis. Next. This slide gives an example of latency difference. The edge first solution shows that there is 21 millisecond to 150 millisecond latency total, whereas in cloud system it shows there is 100 to 395 milliseconds or more. This shows that edge processing can provide faster response because it reduces the need of transfer of data over the internet. Next, instead of choosing edge or only cloud, we can combine the both. The edge handles the immediate task as filtering the data, finding the abnormalities, whereas the cloud handles the complex tasks such as model training, historical data analysis, threat level analysis. So the basic principle is edge for immediate decision and cloud for complex analysis. Next. Our framework divides the application into three classes based on how quickly and response is required. Class 1 requires the response within a millisecond, so there we can use edge processing. Class 2 requires response within seconds, so we can combine the edge and clouding and make our system hybrid. Third is involves the minutes and delay which can be hours or days. So in this case we can use cloud processing. Next, security and reliability. Latency is not only consideration. Security and reliability are also important. Edge devices can continue working during network failure, but having many distributed devices increase security risk, whereas cloud provides centralized security and backup, but it depends on network feasibility. Therefore, I recommend encryption, authentication, secure updates, network segments, access control etc. For critical machine, local fault detection and fallback mechanism should always be available. The importance is that predictive maintenance should be support existing safety system, but it should not replace them. To conclude, I say that edge processing is better for applications that require immediate response, and cloud is better where we need data and train our models using machine learning algorithms. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the valuable presentation. Now I would like to call Ms. Bhumika ma'am to present her research paper on the title Policy and Legal Framework for Data Protection in India, an analytical study of the ID Act 2000 and the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023. Please give her a huge round of applause.
Hello everyone, my name is Bhumika. I am working as an assistant professor in Mangalmay Group of Institutions. So my topic regarding this is policy and legal framework for data protection in India for IT Act 2000 and the DPDP Act 2020. I will present. How many of you are familiar with the data governing policies which we are having in India? Like, what are the rate of cyber crimes we are facing today? What are the legal and policy framework we are facing? If we talk about, the policy and legal framework of data protection in India, so I'll give you a few examples regarding the data leak, the current scenario of the data leak which is happening in 2026 recent. The Skoda data leak, the Skoda company, which is a car company. I think you must be familiar with the startup. Skoda. The data leak has been there, but still now we have not able to govern, or we are not able to make a legal policy or framework to protect the data. Although we have initially started within 2017, I believe. There is a drastic change. In PPDP Act, data amendment has been made by the Indian government. But still, we are unable to identify what exactly the loopholes are. So, it's an analytical study based on the topics. I'll tell you about earlier framework was focused primarily on the sensitive and protection of the data related to cyber offences. If we talk about IT Act, in IT Act we are only familiar with the focus which was primarily and majorly focused on the sensitive and protection data act. But still, if we talk about, we are in contact with our mobile phones. How we are in contact with? Somehow the policy governing framework and the mobile or the companies to which we are linked, we need to sign an agreement with those companies. You must have purchased any mobile phone, so you must be in contact with the companies. You all are agreeing with this. So, to govern those policies initially for the electronic devices and e-governance sites, IT has been amended, but due to more advancement in the technology and more advancement in the artificial intelligence, those policies were restricted to certain area or certain domain only, but not rather focusing on the digital personal data protection. So, it majorly involved the previous IT Act more amendment and changes into the more personalized data, more majorly focused on more personalized data, rather than the previous restricted to previous data related to electronics and communication and Ministry of Electronics and Communication. So the background, the IT Act majorly focused on e-commerce and cybercrime, which is limited to privacy protection. More protection was not provided during that. So till now also the framework has not been introduced in India. Rather in globally also, till now the framework has not yet been introduced, but we are planning to modernize those framework. In previous lectures also, previous presentations, everyone was talking about, every faculty was talking about AI, digitization, but how to monitor those digital platforms, and how to fill the gap between those. So that we talk about in Personal Data Protection Act, and it is a more wider, more advanced step. They are considering it a segregate and separate category to the personalized data. So IT Act 2000, which was earlier focused on e-commerce and cybercrime, is limited to only a certain privacy concern. But now, on a larger scale, we need to segregate all those things. So why there is a need for this act? Why? What according to you basically the need for this act? Because of your personal data, you must be considering, you must be familiar that your personal data must be protected. You are by using a digital electronic device or any platform, you are giving your personal data and you are signing those agreements with the digital data, digital devices. So we need to be more widespread. So objective of the study is evolution, provisions, rights, fiduciary, duties, DPD, CDPR compliance, challenges. So what is the right of individual? With respect to the personal data protection, what is the right of an individual? There is no such guidelines. Every organization is framing their own guidelines regarding this. Every single organization have their own guidelines regarding the data protection. But there must be GDPR. GDPR is amongst one of the governing framework which create those bodies or bring into that institution that guidelines for protection of the data. For example, if you have joined this organization, your data breaches are there. You must have given some of your data, but as per the judgment, as per the case study, and as per the norm, your data is your private data. It should not be breached. But what else? With the help of AI, will now also we got into those problems that we are facing all the data, all the algorithm which in recent days we are creating an account on Instagram. We are putting our personal data into that. So we are into the agreement to those software companies or algorithms, those platforms. We are into the agreement to those platforms for which we are providing the data. So to these data, it's very important to maintain those policies and governing framework for those private and protected data. It should not be provided the way it has been provided till now. So new framework is demanded in the market. So as to bring the framework, there are few, but main objective of this is to evolve, to provide right fiduciary duties must be provided for a person and the government fiduciary bodies also. Then more advancement in the DPDP and more challenges we must be facing also, because there is no such till now there is no such amendment has been made regarding this. So the previous IT Act, what was the previous highlights of the IT Act which we are till now having? It is under section 43A and 72A. SPDI rule. SPDI personal data. What is SPDI? It's a sensitive personal data information which result in wrongfulness or gain. Sensitive personal data protection, what exactly it means? Your sensitive personal data, which is into breach of the others, which has been breached by others due to your own personal reasons. So under the section 43A and 72A, SPDI rule in 2011 limited to the framework. Protection was mainly focused on SPDI rather than all personal data. Earlier the framework was only focused on the SPDI rather all framework, but the framework has limited individual rights. The framework has limited individual rights. Only a few limited rights to the individual has been provided to the authorities, government authorities, but till now also it's been implemented and anyway. But now enforcement mechanisms were relatively weak during that time. But now working on all the parameters and giving the importance to individual identity, we are governing. We must ensure that we should maintain certain frameworks to govern all these parameters. It does not provide any comprehensive and independent data protection authority. What did not provide? IT Act, the previous IT Act 2000. And it was not designed for the scale and complexity of the today's digital economy. What exactly is in the demand of today's digital economy? AI, generative AI, deep learning, all these are today's economy. Our overall economy depends on all these things only. So this is why earlier framework in IT Act 2000 it was not present. Then what is there in DPDP Act? It was in IT Act was usually focused on electronic items. There is later on in 2017, after the judgment of K. Puttaswamy, and there are many other various case studies also, which I mentioned in my paper. But it was not designed. So earlier it was an IT Act 2000, and in DPTP Act it is given a more wider strand to the personal data, and few more amendments and more advanced amendment to the personalized data is given more preference and more priority. India is the first standalone data protection law with rights and obligations. The Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 is India's principal law governing the processing of digital personal data. It aims to balance the individual right to protect personal data with the need to provide data for lawful purpose. So, what are the key features? The scope, the content, the notice, data minimization, penalties, breach reporting. Scope is applies to processing of digital personal in India and certain processing outside the India as well. So the concern is personal data is generally must be processed with wide concern under specific legitimate use, not misuse of the data. Then notice is data fiduciaries must provide individuals with clear information about the personal data being collected and the purpose for processing. For example, if you have joined an organization, your data is being collected for what purpose, you must be guided for that purpose, or it should not be used somewhere else. So what are the right of data principles? What is data principle? We need to understand that. A data principle is an individual to whom personal data relates. Your personal data relates, my personal data relates to me. So that is my personal data. So data principle is the individual to whom that personal data relates. The DPTP Act provides the following key highlights: right to access information, right to connection and assurance, right to grievance redressal. Just in case if we have clicked some different button rather than submitting, we have clicked cancel button. So it has been provided in DPTP Act, right? If we are not responsible for this concern and assurance, whether we have given the correct information or not. Right to grievance redressal, it's that. Right to nominate. Right to nominate and right to withdraw the concern. So what are the duties of data fiduciary with respect to this policies? The lawful processing, how it can be implemented. The lawful processing helps in implementing all these governing framework. Notice and concern, data breach notification, timely updation and data breach notification must be provided. Then data accuracy, whether the information which have been provided to the person or the organization is accurate or not. Then data assurance, then grievance redressal also comes under judiciary must handle all these parameters. The protection of children data, which we have been observed for the past 10 years, the protection of children data means like if you have created a profile of a child for the child purpose, for the benefit of the purpose of the child also, but that child is also not aware of this thing. Although we have using the digital platforms, mobile phones and other gadgets, or email also, Gmail also we are using. But the thing is, we are into the agreement to the Gmail that we are 18 plus, then only we are obliged to use that Gmail account. But still we are using those accounts. Why? Why is it so? Because students, they capture or put wrong information about their parents, or their parents have put those information in the domain. So they are protection of children's data and then accountability. So we have just 2 minutes. Data Protection Board of India. What is data? They are managing all these data protection activities. So Data Protection Board of India is managing the activities of the personal data which is being protected. What are the major challenges to create framework to provide strong. Basically, what loopholes we are facing in this research, what we need to implement in that. The major challenge is to create a framework that provides strong privacy protection and effective enforcement while supporting innovation, digital governance, economic growth, and national interests. So recommendation and future scope is almost same, but the thing is that more I'll add on to it that capacity building, harmonization, technological upliftment, safeguarding, and rule update. Updation in technology with the updation in the rules and guidelines of the technology. So the overall DPDP Act 2023 marks a major policy and legal development in India, providing a foundation for balancing individual privacy with innovation and data-driven economic growth. Continued legal, technological, and policy refinement will be essential to ensure that data protection and remain effective without unnecessarily restricting technological progress. Thank you so much.
चार्ज हो गया हो तो बाहर रखते थोड़ा सा फोन पे आ जाए। तो होगा वहाँ से वहाँ कर दो ना, वहाँ रख लूँगा ना कोने में।
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an insightful presentation. Moving ahead, we have Dr. Seema Srivastava.
20% हुआ है।
Please come forward and
चल रहा है
present
ना?
your
सही है।
research paper.
अब कितने बहुत देर चलेगा?
Development of a
अभी
paper
चलेगा
for
सर।
short-term heavy
1 घंटा लग
rainfall.
जाएगा इसे।
Please give a huge round of applause for ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Seema Srivastava and I'm going to present my paper, Development of a Framework for Short-Term Heavy Rainfall. Next slide. So, as you all know, because of the dramatic global warming, very frequently we face the rainfall that is unpredictable. Okay, so because of this heavy rainfall, we can have lots of disaster, lots of disharmony, which damages our infrastructure. Not only the infrastructure, it also affects the livelihood and the people. That we know, like Uttarakhand, Himachal, like various places we see such things are there, and this is because of unpredictable rainfall. So, my common statement is, if we can predict the rainfall, at least 2 hours, our term is on that only. So, we have used the data set for that, and some algorithms we have used machine learning, and they have predicted that yes, we can predict the rainfall for 2 hours, so that notification can be given to the people. We can target the place, or we can have some safety emergency measures for that, so that we can save the infrastructure damage as well as the livelihood. Okay, so this is as we all know, because of in urban areas we have lots of floods and all those things. So our work will solve that problem. Okay, next. So generally in India we have all these things are the automatic weather stations. So from there we can take the real life data. So as you can see in the map, there are various places where the AWS stations are there. So our inputs are basically the wind direction. It is horizontal wind direction, vertical wind directions we are taking. Usually we are taking into consideration the date and time, the rainfall, atmospheric mean and sea level pressure we are taking into consideration. So these are the inputs which we are taking in the data set so that we can predict the rainfall. Next. So after collecting data, the next stage comes is the data processing. So in data processing, we have to have some duplicate data, we have some missing data, missing values are there. So the next step is to clean the data, and for that we can use the Z-score or icon methods to do the pre-processing. Then next after we have done the data pre-processing, the data cleaning will be there, and the scaling selection. So in this step we can select the features on which basis we want to train the model for that. So all these things happen at this stage, that is data processing. Next. Now, after that data processing, we have to select the machine learning model for that. And in this work, we have selected the three models. First one is the artificial neural network. Second is KNN, that is nearest neighbor. And the last one is the LSTM, that is long short-term memory. So these three models we have used, and we have done the comparative analysis with the help of these three models. Next. So this is our proposed framework. In this, we have taken the data set from the AWS, that is automatic weather station, and then we have done after taking the data, that is real-time data we are taking, and then we have done the data pre-processing, and then we
we have created the model based on the data set, and there are 3 models we have used, that is ANN, LSTM and K-label, and from that training of the data, we have taken the output that we have measured the recall accuracy and precision from the model. Next. So this is our work is basically the 2 hour prior information we are taking, so that is the output for the this is proposed work. So 2 hour conditionally, there is an alert if predicted rainfall accumulation is over or greater than the 47 nanometer. So it will send an alert to the weather station as well as to the people who are who are there in that particular area. So that is the main purpose of this work, so that we can save the livelihood and the infrastructure damage as well. Next. So these are the results. Like you can see the curve. ANN model, if you have used, the accuracy is 98%, the precision is 98.47, the recall is 95, and the outcome score is 97. Similarly, if you see the LSTM results, that is 97.99, 98.7, and the recall is 94.59, and the outcome is 96.16. If we go for the nearest neighbor, in that we have the accuracy which is very at secondary level, that is 0.89, then the precision is 0.87. The recall is 0.86 and actually is 0.86. So ANN is, as you can see from the figure and the table, you can see, if you see carefully, see that you can see that the very best performance is given by the artificial neural network, which is giving the 98.2 and the actual is 94.2%. So this is same as the ANN is giving 93% accuracy, and we have compared with other models as well, which while other people not even use those models. But our work is basically on KNN, LSTM and ANN. Next. So at last I just wanted to say this work proposes a solution to have early rainfall warning for 2 hours system, so that we can reduce some damage because of the floods and the heavy rainfall. The future scope is like we can expand our data set like based on the geological location as well we can take, and more realistic solution we can provide for that. Next. So thank you so much. I hope the picture is more than my words. So you can avoid this. Thank you so much.
This is the
We have taken the data set from zero plus the station, and that is zero plus.
also part of metaphors.
Yes, yes, I am.
Ma'am, why you cannot call it for
ANN is Right. Okay. Actually, we have to cite the different models for that, and the accuracy of ANN got better. Maybe because of internal hidden layers are there in that, so we can solve the non-linear problem as well as the linear data. So ANN performs better than the nearest neighbor and the LSTM. Because in ANN model, we have the input layer, we have the data layer, multiple layers we can have. So the data tends to be more long and short term memory. Practically use LSTM. Because whatever you did your searching, keeps in his mind, and then easily whatever you ask, it keeps that data you have asked in your mind. It is long and short term memory. I have because practically works on that actually. But in ANN we have multiple hidden layers, and it is used to solve the non-linear problem. So that's why it works better than other
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable research on predicting rainfall up to 2 hours in advance is highly relevant and can contribute significantly to early warning and better disaster preparedness. Our next presentation takes us into the area of efficient AI models for advanced. So for that, I would like to invite Mr. Tushar Tiwari sir to present his research paper titled Sub-4-bit Post-Training Quantization for Large Language Models on Edge Devices. Please give a huge round of applause for sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. So our topic is 4-bit post-training quantization for LLM models on edge devices. Basically हम यहाँ पर कर जा रहे हैं जो हमारे LLM मॉडल्स होते हैं उनकी क्या करते हैं, स्टोरेज इनका काफ़ी ज़्यादा रहते हैं, 14 GB का स्टोरेज लेते हैं, इनकी एक्यूरेसी में टाइम भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा लगता है। तो हमारा बेसिकली ये है कि जैसे ChatGPT को अब हम मोबाइल से भी यूज़ कर सकते हैं, मोबाइल में ऐप का इंस्टॉलेशन कर सकते हैं। ऐसे ही ये जो मॉडल्स हैं, हम मॉडल्स को बनाने की हमें सिस्टम की ज़रूरत है, तो क्यों हम उसे थोड़ा बिट उसके 4 बिट में लाके उसके जो भी उसका मतलब कि स्पेस जो ले रहा है, स्टोरेज जो भी हो रहा है, क्या हम उसके स्पेस को कम करके क्या हम मोबाइल में वो वर्किंग कर सकते हैं? उसका मेन पर्पस क्या है? पर्पस ये है बेसिकली आज के समय में मोबाइल सबके पास है, लेकिन लैपटॉप यूज होता है वो उसके पास ना, सिस्टम जो चाहिए हमें वो नहीं। तो क्या ऐसा पॉसिबल है? उसी पे हमने किया है कि हम कितना उसमें एक्यूरेट अभी पहुँच पाएंगे, इस पर हमारा पूरा ये रिसर्च होता है। अब जैसे कि LLM मॉडल है, तो पहले हम थोड़ा सा इसको समझ लेंगे कि LLM मॉडल में क्या चीज़ें आती हैं। जैसे 14 GB की स्टोरेज है, इसमें 8x का जो कंप्रेशन होता है, अगर हम इसको कंप्रेस करेंगे इसको, तो ये ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा ये कंप्रेस होने के लिए 2 बिट 3 बिट में आ नहीं पाता है, 4 बिट में ही आता था। 4 बिट से नीचे लाते तो इस मॉडल की जो एक्यूरेसी होती है उस पर इफेक्ट डालता है। तो इसके लिए हमने किस तरीके से मॉडल को किया है और कितने अलग पैरामीटर है जिससे हमने देखा है कि क्या वर्किंग हुई है, उन्होंने टेस्टिंग क्या की है। जैसे कि ये थे, उनमें कुछ एनालिसिस GPTQ, AWQ, IP, स्क्वीज, LLM, VPTQ, मोबाइल, इन सारे मेथड्स पे काम किया गया और इन मेथड्स में दिक्कत ये हुई, इन सभी को किसी एक पैरामीटर पे चेक नहीं किया गया, सब कुछ चेक करने के अलग अलग पैरामीटर रखे गए। जैसे GPTQ था, GPTQ को जब इसको इस मॉडल को जब ट्रेन किया गया, चेक किया गया, तो ये पहले इसको जब हमने चेक किया तो मोबाइल में ये लिखा कि हमारी ये बैटरी को कितना लेगा। जब मोबाइल को हम किसी मॉडल को ट्रेन करा रहे हैं तो उसमें टाइम लगता है, तो हमें ये भी देखना पड़ेगा उसका बैटरी बैकअप, वो कितना बैटरी बैकअप यूज करें, उस पर ध्यान देगा। ऐसे ही 1 पैटर्न सब उसमें 1% एक्यूरेसी आ गई। ऐसे ही जितने मॉडल्स हैं उनमें कुछ ना कुछ मेरे उनको इस सेम पैरामीटर पे बनाया गया कि हमने 6 या 7 हमने पैरामीटर्स पहले से फ्रेम कर लिए, उस पर हमने सभी मॉडल को ट्रेन किया। ये चीज़ें, ये गैप है यहाँ पर। अब यही गैप लिखते हुए कि जो पहले वाला था GPTQ, AWQ, उसमें क्या था, नेक्स्ट वाले पे तो क्या था, नो अनफिल्ड एक्यूरेसी, एच कॉस्ट प्रोटोकॉल की नॉलेज, कंप्रेशन रेशियो और रियल स्पीड अप में उनमें क्या था, गैप था। थर्ड वाले में नॉमिनल वर्सेस इफेक्टिव बिट रेट में, इसमें ये गैप था। अब हमने क्या किया, हमने इस प्रॉब्लम को जो भी हमारे पास जितने भी मॉडल्स थे जिनका स्टोरेज बहुत ज़्यादा वो यूज़ करते थे, उन सभी मॉडल्स को एक सेम पैरामीटर पे हमने टेस्ट किया। हमने अपनी मेथोडोलॉजी को बना के, एक मेथड और एक फ्रेमवर्क को बना के, जिससे हम ये गैप को फाइंड आउट कर पाए, क्या हम कभी इन मॉडल्स को एक सेम वे पे मोबाइल फोन में ला पाएंगे, उनको कंप्रेस कर पाएंगे कि नहीं, उस साइज को कंप्रेस कर पाएंगे कि नहीं, ये पॉसिबल है कि नहीं, और अगर पॉसिबल है तो उसका मेथड क्या है। तो हमने एक प्रपोज हमने मेथड बनाया जिसको हमने इन सभी मॉडल्स पे ट्रेन कराया। नंबर 1 हमने क्या किया, हमने जितने मॉडल्स थे उन सभी को लिया, कलेक्ट किया उन सबके डेटा। उसके बाद हमने आइडेंटिफाई किया उनकी जो लेयर्स थी सभी की, जैसे जो भी मॉडल्स होते हैं तो सबकी हिडन लेयर का जो प्रोपोगेशन होता है, जिस तरीके से उनकी वर्किंग होती है, हर मॉडल के अलग होता है। तो हमने उन सभी की हिडन मॉडल के जो बेसिक फीचर्स थे जो सब में कॉमन आ रहे हैं, उन सबको एक साथ करके उनकी प्रॉपर्टीज को एक साथ हमने आइडेंटिफाई किया और फिर हमने ये देखा कि गैप क्या है, और उस गैप को फिर जब हम कर रहे हैं अपने एक मॉडल के थ्रू, ये जो हमने इस तरीके से मिनिमाइजेशन का मैथ्स का मॉडल बनाया, इसमें वो कितना बेस्ट फिट आ रहा है, क्या उनकी एक्यूरेसी ला पा रहे हैं, उसके आधार पर क्या हम उनको कंप्रेस कर भी पाएंगे कि नहीं कर पाएंगे, ये रिजल्ट हमने दिए। अब जब हमने इस तरीके से इस फ्रेमवर्क में किया तो हमने ये पाया कि जो एक्टिवेशन था 16 बिट का जो उसका वेट था, उसमें क्या हुआ, क्वालिटी जो उसकी थी, क्वालिटी उसकी डाउन थी, उसकी क्वालिटी उतनी अच्छी नहीं है। जो मॉडल जो पहले बेस्ट तरीके से रन कर रहा था उसकी क्वालिटी जितनी अच्छी था, जब वो 14 GB का स्टोरेज ले रहा था, और जब हमने अपने मॉडल पे लगाया तब उसकी क्वालिटी उतनी अच्छी नहीं है। ऐसे ही हमारा जो PDQ था उसमें हमारा क्या हुआ, कंप्रेस तो वो हो गया, वो कंप्रेस हो गया, लेकिन उसमें एक्यूरेसी उतनी अच्छी नहीं थी मॉडल। ऐसे ही 2-3 और मॉडल है, उनमें क्या हुआ कि उन्होंने हिडन लेयर के थ्रू, जैसे आपने इसमें बिग डेटा में आपने सुना होगा बैक प्रोपगेशन होता है, तो इनमें से 2-3 मॉडल ऐसे हैं जिनका बैक प्रोपगेशन में उतना अच्छा वर्क नहीं करता है। अब ये उसका फ्लो चार्ट है कि हमने जो आउटपुट पाए तो इसके थ्रू इसमें INT2 करके ये मॉडल है, इस मॉडल में सबसे बेस्ट रिजल्ट हमारे आए। ये इसका वही चार्ट है। नेक्स्ट अब जो मॉडल हमारा बना INT2 के नाम से, उसने क्या किया, ये कंप्रेस साइज को 14 GB से 2 एग्जैक्ट 2 GB पे नहीं आता है, लेकिन 2.19 GB पे इसने एक्यूरेट रिजल्ट ये अपने दिया। अब इससे हमें बेनिफिट क्या है? इससे बेनिफिट ये है कि अगर हमारी कोई भी थिंकिंग आती है, हम खुद सोचते हैं और मॉडल को अगर हमें क्रिएट करना है तो उसके लिए हो सकता है हमें स्टोरेज नहीं मिला है तो हम मोबाइल के थ्रू हेल्प से बना सकते हैं। तो फ्यूचर में इसके थ्रू हम कई सारे मॉडल्स को बना सकते हैं, ट्रेन कर सकते हैं, टेस्ट कर सकते हैं, जिसके थ्रू बेस्ट आउटपुट हम ले सकते हैं। ओके, थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you, sir, for such an excellent presentation. Now, moving forward, I would like to call Stavan Jha on behalf of Mr. Shivansh to present his research paper on the topic an IoT AI-based drinking water quality monitoring and prediction framework for rural areas. Now I would like to call Anshika Vyod to present her paper on the topic FOMO marketing, social media stories and limited time content, psychological triggers and consumer responses.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Anshika Rao, final year PhD student. I am going to present my research paper on the topic FOMO marketing, social media and limited time content. This is co-authored with Dr. Ambika Raju, the HOD of our department, and Ms. Archana Kumar. I choose this topic because honestly, as a Gen Z, experience FOMO every day. Whether it's Instagram stories saying only 2 hours left, a countdown for the sale, and influencers saying everyone is buying this, or a product only period. So I wanted to understand what actually happens psychologically behind this behavior, how marketers use this to influence consumers. First, let's understand what FOMO actually means. FOMO stands for fear of missing out. In digital marketing, it has been very powerful psychological mechanism. Marketers use these things: limited time offers, countdown timers, scarcity messages, exclusive products, social media, disappearing stories to create sense of urgency. And social media stories are especially interesting because they are temporary. For example, I see a story saying ends in 2 hours, okay? And we don't have the time to think that is it important do we really need this? Instead, the temporary nature creates the feeling of I need to act or I'll miss it. That's basically where marketing comes from. Now, this becomes even more interesting. When we add social comparison on social media, we constantly see what other people are buying, wearing, eating, traveling, or experiencing. So FOMO isn't only about missing a product or a discount. Sometimes it's about the feeling that everyone else is experiencing something and left behind. The existing research has already studied FOMO impulse buying. But the problem is that these factors are often studied separately. So my research tries to bring these elements together by using the stimulus organism response model or SOR model to understand how oriented marketing actually influences. Homo-oriented marketing actually influences consumer behavior. I have also considered the ethical side because if marketing works by creating psychological pressure, we also need to ask why should marketers draw the line? Okay, coming to the literature review, previous studies show how the temporary content and scarcity create a strong sense of urgency among the consumers. Research also suggests that loss aversion and social comparison make people more likely to act quickly. Quickly because they don't want to miss an opportunity to be left out. So FOMO is not only about getting a better discount, it's also about belonging and keeping it with others. Further research shows that influencers and social media can strengthen FOMO by encouraging people to compare themselves with others. FOMO can also reduce rational decision making and lead to impulse purchase. However, after the excitement fades, consumer may experience regret or reduced trust in the brand. So literature review shows that FOMO can be effective for the short period of the time, but it can also have a negative impact on the brand's trust. Based on this literature, I developed four main research objectives. First, to understand how informal content is used on social media. Second, to examine how this temporary content creates FOMO. Third, to study how FOMO affects impulse buying behavior. And fourth, to examine whether the influencer marketing strengthens the relationship between FOMO exposure or impulse buying. So basically, my research is trying to understand this temporary content, temporary content to FOMO, FOMO to urgency, and urgency to impulse buying. And we also look at how influencers can make this effect even stronger. For my methodology, I use a conceptual literature review rather than conducting a survey or experiment. I review research using keywords such as FOMO, marketing, social media stories, scarcity marketing, and urgency or impulse buying. The literature was searched across databases including Scopus, Web of Science, Science Direct, Emerald, and Google Scholar. I mainly focused on peer-reviewed studies, meta-analysis, and large sample empirical studies from 2015 to 2026. I then organized the literature and around four major theories, that is scarcity, loss aversion, social comparison, and Zeigarnik. One of the important limitations is that this is the conceptual study, so I am not generating new primary data. Instead, the framework is based on the finding from the existing research. This is probably one of the most important slides of my research. I have studied the stimulus organism response to the FOMO marketing. Let's understand it in a very simple way. The stimulus is what the consumer sees, for example, limited time offer, countdown time, or social proof of an exclusive product. Then comes an organism, which is what happens internally. The consumer starts affecting FOMO, anxiety, or purchase urgency. Finally, we have the response. This can result in impulse buying, higher engagement, or sometimes post-purchase research. Okay, the same strategy that increases sales can also increase anxiety, compulsive buying, eventually purchase regret, or reduce brand trust. So FOMO can be effective, but it can also come at a psychological cost. Okay, to conclude my research purpose, a sequential mechanism is shown. FOMO marketing, perceived scarcity, FOMO, purchase urgency, or consumer response. Temporary stories, countdown, limited stocks bring together the psychological mechanisms and like scarcity, loss aversion, and social comparison. Across the literature, these techniques appear to be effective at increasing engagement and encouraging impulse purchase. So the question is not whether FOMO marketing works, clearly it does. The more important question is how responsibly we should use it. Yeah. Based on my research, I have three major suggestions for marketers. First, brands should use real scarcity rather than fake countdowns or misleading urgency. Second, marketers should look beyond immediate sale or also consider the long-term psychological impact. And third, future research should test the SOR framework using primary data from the product and demographic groups. These are the major studies and sources that I referred while developing my conceptual framework. They help me understand the relationship between FOMO, scarcity, social comparison, influencer marketing, and personal. You don't need to read everything. Explain why it is. Can I give an example? Okay, we all are here. We just open Instagram and we start scrolling. And once we see only 2 hours left for a sale, okay, and we just go and check our bank balance. Too bad, right? And the most Gen Z right now are facing these FOMO. If they don't buy, for example, we saw Labu recently on Instagram, and every one of us was like, I need to buy, and everyone was feeling this out. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope after this presentation, next time you see only 2 hours left, you can say, I'm actually interested in this product, or I will miss it.
छोटे इंडस्ट्रीज में भी होता है तो ब्रांड सेल ब्रांड इमीडिएट बाय
Thank you for the insightful presentation. Next we have Ms. Divya Gehlot ma'am, who is presenting her research paper on the topic Emerging Trends and Application of Industry 5.0. I would like to call upon ma'am, please come forward and present your research paper. Please give a huge round of applause for ma'am.
My topic is Industry 5.0 Emerging Trends in Healthcare, Communication and Industry. अगर हम इंडस्ट्री की बात करें तो इंडस्ट्री हमारा कहलाता है कि ना सेम टाइप ऑफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन होगा, ना हम इनकम के लिए अपना जॉब करेंगे, एक टाइप का सर्विस होगा। तो मेरा जो टॉपिक है मेरा इंडस्ट्री 5.0, जिसमें मैंने फाइंड आउट किया है कि इंडस्ट्री 1.0 का इवैल्यूएशन कैसे हुआ है, आज से लेकर 5.0 तक हम कैसे आए। ह्यूमन मतलब जो मशीन है ह्यूमन को रिप्लेस नहीं करेगा, ह्यूमन और मशीन का कोलैबोरेशन रहेगा। अब इनका जो इवैल्यूएशन हुआ इंडस्ट्री 1.0 की अगर हम बात करें तो वहाँ पे जब हमारा मैन्युफैक्चरिंग होता था तो वहाँ स्टीम और वाटर पावर का हम यूज़ करते थे। इंडस्ट्री 2.0 में कंपनीज में ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का यूज़ होने लगा, असेंबली लाइन्स का यूज़ होने लगा और मास प्रोडक्शन पे वहाँ ध्यान दिया गया। और इंडस्ट्री 3.0 के टाइम पे कंप्यूटर्स आया, ऑटोमेशन आया और IT का यूज़ होने लगा, जहाँ पे जो मशीन थी PLC का यूज़ करने लगी। इंडस्ट्री 4.0 में ऑटोमेशन टेक्निक्स आई, जिससे जो हमारी जो मशीन थी ऑटोमेटिक वर्क करने लगी। अब इंडस्ट्री 5.0 में क्या होगा कि मशीन ऑटोमेटिक तो वर्क करे बट वो डिपेंडेंट ह्यूमंस पे ही रहे। जो इंडस्ट्री 5.0 है उसमें जो हमारी डिफरेंट टाइप की टेक्नोलॉजी यूज हुई, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का यूज हुआ, इंटरनेट ऑफ थिंग्स का, रोबोटिक्स एंड कोबोट्स, 5G एंड एज कंप्यूटिंग, AR या VR ब्लॉकचेन। आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का यूज ये है कि अगर कोई भी मशीन है तो वो पहले प्रेडिक्ट करे कि अगर मशीन में कोई प्रॉब्लम आ रही है या टेम्परेचर के रिगार्डिंग वो पहले ही क्या करेगा, जो कंपनी का मैनेजर वगैरह होगा उसको पहले ही वो अलर्ट कर देगा। IoT का यूज कर रहे थे सेंसर्स वगैरह के लिए। और रोबोटिक एंड कोबोट की कोबोट हमारा होगा कि ह्यूमंस प्लस मशीन का कोलैबोरेशन की, ह्यूमन और जो मशीन होगी हमारा दोनों वर्क करेगी, ये नहीं कि रोबोट ही हमारा वर्क करेगा। कोबोट अगर हमारा कोई फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर हम बात करें कि कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में अगर भारी सामान किसी वर्कर्स को उठाना है तो उसकी जगह रोबोट उसको उठाए और मतलब इंस्ट्रक्शन जो है वो ह्यूमन से। 5G एंड एज कंप्यूटिंग में क्या था कि 5G का कम्युनिकेशन के लिए नेटवर्क हाई स्पीड के लिए 5G का यूज हुआ। AR या VR का यूज, ऑगमेंटेड रियलिटी या वर्चुअल रियलिटी की अगर किसी को ट्रेनिंग देनी है, लाइक अगर हम सर्जिकल की बात करें और कोई सर्जरी है तो उसको डायरेक्टली पर्सन पे ना करके पहले उसको ट्रेनिंग दी जाए ऑगमेंटेड रियलिटी के थ्रू। और ब्लॉकचेन का यूज था कि अगर बाई चांस कोई कंपनी का हमारा मास कहाँ से स्टार्ट हो रहा है, मीन्स कहाँ से आई, वो सारा डेटा ब्लॉकचेन के थ्रू ऑलवेज सिक्योर रहेगा। हेल्थ केयर में AI का यूज हुआ, डायग्नोसिस ट्रीटमेंट प्लानिंग के लिए कोबोट एंड रोबोटिक्स का यूज होने लगा सर्जरी में। और IoT वेयरेबल्स फॉर कंटिन्यूअस मॉनिटरिंग फॉर गाइडेंस साइन। और ब्लॉकचेन का यूज करने लगा कि जो भी डेटा है उसको सिक्योर करने के लिए। AR का वही कि अगर हमें कोई ट्रेनिंग देनी है किसी को भी तो ट्रेनिंग डायरेक्टली पर्सन से ना देके AR का यूज करके उसको वर्चुअल ट्रेनिंग प्रोवाइड की जाए। और 5.0 का कम्युनिकेशन में यूज करके चैटबॉट वगैरह उसमें जो इंस्ट्रक्शन देगा ह्यूमन भी होगा और हमारा मशीन भी होगी। 5G का यूज होने लगा कम्युनिकेशन के लिए। AR वही कि पहले उसको ट्रेन करने के लिए ऑगमेंटेड रियलिटी वाला एक एटमॉस्फेयर प्रोवाइड किया जाएगा। ब्लॉकचेन का सेम यूज है। अदर इंडस्ट्री में कोई कि अगर पहले से प्रोडक्शन मास कस्टमाइजेशन की अगर जो भी यूजर की रिक्वायरमेंट है उसके रिगार्डिंग कस्टमाइज की जाए। जैसे कि आजकल अगर कोई भी पर्सन है तो परचेज करने जा रहा है, लाइक अगर कार भी ले रहा है तो वो क्या करता है अपनी नीड के अकॉर्डिंग उसको कस्टमाइज करा लेता है। AI का वही है कि पहले से टेम्परेचर वगैरह सारी चीज़ें हमारी इंडस्ट्री की यूज हो रही है IoT का सेंसर वगैरह के लिए, जिससे ऑटोमेटिक हमारी मशीन वर्क करने लगे। रियल वर्ल्ड एग्जाम्पल की बात करें तो जनरल इलेक्ट्रिक का ये एक अमेरिकन कंपनी है जहाँ IoT और AI का यूज किया जा रहा है। सीमेंस में कोबोट का यूज किया जा रहा है असेंबली लाइन पे। मायोक्लिनिक एक जर्मन कंपनी है जहाँ पे AI का यूज किया जा रहा है डायग्नोस्टिक एप्लीकेशंस पे। सर्जिकल है डार्क बेंसिंग रोबोटिक सर्जिकल सिस्टम इसका यूज हो रहा है। BMW में भी कोबोट सपोर्टिंग असेंबली लाइन का यूज किया जा रहा है 5G का ट्रेनिंग के लिए। चैलेंजेस एंड लिमिटेशंस ये है कि अगर हमारे पास कोई 20 साल पुरानी कंपनी है, 20 साल से उसमें जो मशीन्स लगी हुई हैं, अगर अब उसको प्रोग्रामेबल मतलब आज के टाइम में ऑटोमेटिक करने लगे तो प्रोग्रामेबल उसमें हमारा एक्सपेंसिव खर्चा आएगा और टाइम कंज्यूमिंग होगा। और जो पहले का एम्प्लॉई है उसको अगर न्यू टेक्निक सिखाएं तो उसको रीस्किल करना पड़ेगा, जिसमें भी हमारा टाइम कंज्यूमिंग होगा। फ्यूचर रिसर्च मोर सेफर ह्यूमन रोबोट कोलैबोरेशन
interdisciplinary collaboration.
Thank you, ma'am. Next we have Ms. Suruchi ma'am, who is going to present her research paper on the topic AI Prevails Personalized Cybersecurity Awareness Framework for Academicians Using a Human Cyber Risk Score. Kindly give huge round of applause for her.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Suchi. I am from EC department. Is AI-driven personalized cybersecurity awareness framework for academicians using a human cyber risk score. Firstly, introduction part. Nowadays, university and academic institutions use many digital platforms such as emails, cloud services, LMS research repositories and ऑनलाइन कोलैबोरेशन। आज के टाइम में साइबर सिक्योरिटी बहुत ही इनहेंस हो रहा है। सबसे पहले हम एकेडमिक्स की बात कर रहे हैं। एकेडमिक का मतलब ये है जितने भी हम टूल्स यूज करते हैं एकेडमिक में रिसर्च स्पेस के लिए, वहाँ पे साइबर सिक्योरिटी को सिक्योर करने के लिए, अपने डेटा को सिक्योर करने के लिए हम साइबर सिक्योरिटी यूज करते हैं ताकि हमारा डेटा हैक ना हो, किसी भी तरह का फिशिंग अटैक ना हो, हमारे डेटा को किसी भी तरह का फिशिंग अटैक ना हो, डेटा हैक ना हो। नेक्स्ट, research problem. The main problems is one size fit all cyber security training. Main problem क्या है cyber ये टॉपिक का, ये है कि हम हर एक को सेम ट्रेनिंग देते हैं। हमें ये नहीं पता उसको क्या आता है, उसको टेक्निकल अवेयरनेस है या नहीं, साइबर सिक्योरिटी की अवेयरनेस है या नहीं। ये क्या है आपके मेरा सेम प्रॉब्लम, यानी कि ये फिट ऑल प्रॉब्लम। सभी को एक जैसा ट्रेनिंग ना देके अलग अलग हमें ट्रेनिंग बेस देनी है ताकि उसकी नॉलेज इनहेंस हो, साइबर सिक्योरिटी अवेयरनेस हो, ताकि उसकी डेटा को हैक किसी तरीके से ना हो। Therefore, our objective is developing an AI-driven framework that can estimate an individual cyber risk and recommend suitable cyber security learning. Research gap. Existing research has already studied areas such as human factors, phishing, cyber security awareness, and cosmetic recommendations. Our proposed framework tries to connect these areas through a dynamic risk and personalization process. Proposed XCRS framework. The proposed framework works in a continuous cycle. First, we find out the baseline profile and assessment. Then, the XCRS is calculated based on this score. The AI recommendation engine suggests suitable cybersecurity training. After the user completes the training, we share the learning outcomes and feedback. Finally, the XCRS can be recalculated so the training can continuously adapt the user changing needs. The framework can use awareness assessment, technical proficiency, simulated phishing results, and validated personality information. Human cyber risk score. The human cyber risk score is defined three criteria. First, B, present behavior risks such as phishing responses and reporting behavior. P, represent technical and awareness risks, and P, represent the personality informed factor. Next, personalization and risk bands. Based on the risk score, the training can be personalized in terms of content, difficulty, format, and frequency. The framework defines 5 conceptual risk levels: very low, low, moderate, high, and very high. Next, proposed evaluation. To evaluate the framework, 3 groups are proposed. G1 is the control group which receives standard cybersecurity awareness training. G2 is the risk-based group which receives training-based SCRS. G3 is full framework group which receive AI personalized training using the SCRS and personality informed personalization. 9 slides. Evaluation matrices. To evaluate the framework, different matrices can be used. For behavioral safety, we can measure phishing, click rate, reporting rate, and reporting time. For learning, we can compare pre-training and post-training awareness scores and also check knowledge retention. Next. Privacy and ethics are very important in this research. The framework should follow informed consent, data minimization, control access, and proper data retention. There are also some limitations because the HCRS is currently conceptual and the proposed weight and risk results still need validation. In future work, we plan to use real academic user data, validate the HCRS, explore AI and hybrid approaches, and focus on explainability, privacy, and fairness. To conclude this research process proposes an AI-driven personalized cybersecurity awareness framework for academicians. The framework uses the human cyber risk score which combine behavioral, technical awareness, and personality informed factors.
Thank you, ma'am. For the next presentation, I would like to call Mr. Kaushal to present his research paper on the topic Enhancing Biometric Authentication by Integrating Neural Network-Based Face Recognition with Minute-Based Fingerprint Matching. Please come forward.
So, good afternoon everyone. Myself Kaushal Rai, and today I am here to present my research work. So, the topic of my research is enhancing biometric authentication by CNN-based face recognition and Minushi-based fingerprint recognition. Next. So, basically, the outline of my presentation is first I will start with the basic introduction section. Then I will talk about the types of the biometric system, that is unimodal biometric system and multimodal biometric system. And in the next phase, I will talk about the different level of the fusion which is present at the multi-model biometric system. Then I will talk about the methodology, and after that I will conclude about the conclusion. Next. So basically, if I talk about the introductory section, so basically, if we talk about biometrics, so it is basically science and technology which is used to verify a personal particular individual identity on the basis of physiological or biological behavior. After that, if I talk about the biometric authentication and biometric identification, so biometric authentication is basically one-to-one survey, and biometric identification is basically one-to-many searching process. Next please. Now, if I talk about the types of biometric system, in our proposed work, I am talking about multi-modal biometric system, because in unimodal biometric system, we only talk about a single biometric modality, that is either finger or either face or etc. But in multimodal biometric system, we talk about two biometric modalities, that is face and fingerprints both. Next please. Now, if I talk about level of fusion in CNN biometric system, so basically CNN, that is convolutional neural network, is basically a deep learning algorithm which basically processes great data types such as images, audio and video. So here we will use CNN basically for image recognition. So first level of fusion here basically means we will combine the basically output of two biometric system in a single frame. So if I talk about sensor level fusion, so here first we will take the raw data from two sensors, and after that we will combine them and extract necessary features from them, and after that we will compare it with output, and that give a final decision. But this sensor level fusion is not as much compatible, because we know that fingerprint and face, that are both different type of data type, they have different dimension, different orientation. So this can be considered as early level of fusion. So it is a non type of compatible fusion. Next please. So next, I would like to add one more slide here. The next one is feature level fusion. In this feature level fusion, we जैसे हमने raw level में पहले raw data को combine किया, फिर feature को extract किया. Feature level extraction में हम पहले feature को extract करेंगे, उसके बाद हम उसे matching के लिए आगे proceed करेंगे. But in decision level fusion, what we generally does, जो दो biometric system हमने लिए हैं या दो sensors हमने लिए हैं, वो first अपने decision को पहले proceed कराएंगे कि whether the person is genuine or not. After that, we will combine it with a weighted fusion. It is basically a strategy which is used inside the decision level fusion. In this, we use a formula. For example, if I want to calculate the decision level fusion for a fingerprint, so I will calculate it as finger weight into fingerprint score plus finger weight at second phase into fingerprint score, and similarly it for the face recognition. Next please. Next. Now, the biometric traits that we have used in our research work is basically face and fingerprints, which are the two biometric modalities which we are used here. Next. Now, if I talk about the proposed multimodal biometric system, so as you can see that first we are taking fingerprint as an input, then CNN will extract some necessary features on the basis of two layers, that is called polling layer and convolutional layer, and after that many more functions such as flattening is also applied here. After that face recognition is done, and after that face score is released, and it is combined with the weighted fusion, and after that final decision is only taken when it is matched with the fingerprint or face which is stored in the database. Thanks. So the methodology which we have used in face recognition is CNN. So CNN basically stands for convolutional neural network, in which there were many steps involved. First step is convolutional layer which generate a feature map. That feature map will go to the next layer, that is called activation function. That activation function will introduce the nonlinearity, and after that it goes to the polling function which reduces the size of the image, and after the polling function it goes to the flattening process. The flattening process basically converts the 2D or 3D matrix into a single vector, and after that it will go to a loss function, and if error occurs, then the process of back propagation will take place, and final decision will be taken out only when it is compared with the result which is stored in the database. Next. So the methodology which is used for the fingerprint feature is Minushi based matching. So Minushi is basically a small point which is present in the fingerprint ridges. I have to tell that fingerprint basically have two parts, that is called ridges and the second one is called valleys. And Minushi is basically of two types, that is called ridges ending and bifurcation. So the basically process involved is in this process is first we will give the fingerprint as an input, then after that pre-processing will happen, and after pre-processing the ridge detection will be happen, which is done by the fourth process, that is called sterilization, vanillization, ridge scale localization and etc. And after that the we will store information in three parameters such as location, orientation and type. After that Minushi score is generated by the formula Minushi score upon total score, and after that final decision is taken on the basis of the data fingerprints stored in the database. And I have to conclude that in our computer system we have used multi-modal biometric system. For face recognition I have used CNN based technology, and for fingerprint recognition I have used Minushi based technique. Thank you.
Thank you for the insightful presentation. Now I would like to call Stavan Jha to present his research paper on the topic, an IoT AI-based drinking water quality monitoring and prediction framework for rural areas.
Good afternoon everyone. I am Savanja presenting an AI and IoT based water quality monitoring and prediction framework for rural areas. Today I would like to start with a very simple but an unsettling question, which is the water we drink is safe. For the people residing in urban areas, the answer for me is very simple and straight, that is yes. Because the water they consume passes from many filtration layers and monitoring, and also they believe on the supply chain behind it. But for the people residing in rural areas, for them the water they drink is directly extracted from underground sources and open sources. That's why it is we know that it is much that is it contains many pathogens in it. This could be harmful for their consumption. It contains many chemicals like fluoride, arsenide, and nitrous, which is very harmful for human consumption, and it can cause disorders in human eyes and nose. It could lead many diseases, and it can cause worsen at regular consumption. Now, my solution provides an AI and IoT based framework which detects the quality level of water, it monitors it, it works on four main models, which are XCV Boost, SVM, LSTM, decision tree, and random forest. Now, what is this? The sensors are installed in water source providers. It constantly monitors the pH, turbidity, TDS, and temperature in real time. These are the four basic principles which any of the government principal authorities should monitor and analyze to know the quality level of water. So, this will be analyzed. At the second layer, ESP32 microcontrollers are used. It does two critical jobs. It performs local filtering of noisy sensor readings. And the second layer, it stores the data when the connection is lost. It will store the data in buffer. Once the connection is gained back, it will sync the data with cloud, and the connection and the sensors will work normally as usual. Once the data is uploaded in cloud, it will be machine learning models will analyze the data. For 5 main models are used in this, which are XCV Boost, random forest, decision tree, SVM, and LSTM. From these models, XCV Boost and random forest are the most reliable because they show the good output result and with great accuracy, which are good for which shows the accurate result for water consumption and the quality levels. Now it also follows the VIS part of VIS part, which is 10,500 and 2012. And this shows the quality level of water, which could be safe for consumption, giving 3 sensors that for the harmful, yellow for the moderate, and the green for good. That's all about my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we come to the final presentation of this session. For that, I would like to call Ms. Aarti Mala ma'am to present her research paper on the topic From Sequence to Series, the Journey to Convergence. Please give a huge round of applause for her.
Hello. Good afternoon to all present here. So myself Aarti Mala and my research topic is From Sequence to Series, a Journey of Convergence. So basic question is what is the sequence and what is series and how it is deal with the convergence. So sequence is which we daily life use from our basic school level. That is our counting from 1, 2, 3 up to so on, which follow a particular pattern, which follow a specific condition. For example, number 2. How we get number 2? Plus 1, 1 plus 1 is equals to 2 and 2 plus 1, 3. That means these numbers are following a particular pattern. So this is a sequence. And similarly 1 by 1, 1 by 2, 1 by 3. So these numbers which follow particular pattern, particular conditions are known as sequence. Now the question is what is series? So series is when commas are replaced with a symbol of plus sign, that is known as series. So next, for example, 1 by 2, 1 by 4, 1 by 8, 1 by 16 up to so on, infinite sequence. When we don't get a last value, this is known as infinite sequence, and when we know our last value, that will be known as a finite sequence. And similarly, the comma will be replaced by under addition sign, that will be known as series. And now the question is how it deals with convergence. So the basic question is how we get its value. So sequence, as we all know, as the denominator increases, the value goes to, as the denominator increases, the value goes to 0. So the sequence will give you the 0 value. For example, 1 by 1000, which will give you 0.001, so which we can approximately 0 value. So sequence mostly approaches to 0. And what will be the series sum? So 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 up to so on. What will give? So by LCM method, it approximately will give you 1. So finite value. So convergence deals to gives the stability, gives the finite value. So when our series or sequence gives you finite value, that will be known as convergent series or convergent sequence. When it gives a non-finite value or infinity value, that will be known as divergent sequence, or we can say the function doesn't exist or the series doesn't exist. So from our research methodology, we can use so many methods to check on convergence. For example, ratio test, root test, PN test, DLM test, integral test to check on convergence. Next. So these are the tests. Next. So from ratio test, which will gives you the answer is L. If your L is less than 1, the series is known as convergent. If L gives the value greater than 1, the series will divergent. If the result is I or answer is 1, that will be known as the ratio test fails here. Similar case of root test. At L is equals to 1, your test will fail. So in that case, we will use our next method. Next method, p-test or integral test. Next. So where it goes to use? In signal processing. How it is used in signal processing? To remove background noise. So to remove background noise and increase its speed, to remove massive disturbance, it's used in that case. And it is the totally bedrock of real and complex analysis, which is used to predict the stable value. So these are my references which I used in this paper. deliver. So this is all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an informative presentation. With this, we come to the end of day 1, session 2 of ICC SEM 2026. Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to the upcoming sessions of ICC SEM 2026. A heartfelt thank you to all our presenters for sharing their research ideas and valuable insight with us today. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.